This segment of Naperville Sports Weekly is brought to you in part by the Daily Herald.
Well, Metea Valley baseball coach Craig Tomczak, we're out here, gorgeous day. You guys have played 5 games into the season, quite a bit over spring break last week. What do you know more about your team that maybe you didn't know a week ago?
I know that something that we kind of started developing a little bit last year that I thought we would have is we're going to compete this year. And hopefully some of our experiences will translate into more wins in close games. Last year we talked to the kids a lot about when we were a lot of sophomores and juniors, we lost 7 one-run games. This past week we started off the season, we lost 1 one-run game, and we won the last 3 that turned into one-run games. So early on we found the way to do that. That experience, I think that we've gained from growing a year. Our maturity level has been better. I think our work ethic has been better, even though we've had the kids 3 years. I think every year they've progressed a little bit, doing kind of what we like them to do. They're buying into what we're trying to build as a program. And I think the seniors have taken on the role of kind of the caregivers of the program. They know that they're moving on, but what they leave here is kind of a legacy, not necessarily in wins and losses. We want to win, they want to win as much as they can, but they're leaving that foundation behind, and that's something you can't take away from them when they go. So I think they've taken that role very, very seriously.
For sure. Now, a big summer for you guys last year as a program. 22 wins, the top seed going into the tournament, but you guys get upset early. Does that, maybe kind of tick these guys off a little bit? A lot of these seniors, maybe especially, giving them something to kind of think about over those 6 months where they weren't playing baseball?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys went and they put the work in the offseason to get better this year. We talked about how you got to put a lot of it in the offseason. I think it was a little bit of a reality check at the end of the summer. Summer baseball kind of ends sometimes. In my experiences, being an assistant at Wabanzi, and some kids are like, okay, the summer, we get a couple weeks off before school starts. I think that loss kind of stung a little bit. Okay. At the same time, in the summer, you want to grow as a program, and that was our main goal. Yes, we would have loved to win a couple more games in the tournament and go a little bit further, but I think we made a lot of progress we had. And we talked to the boys, the thing to keep in mind in the summer is it's not about wins and losses, because at times you have some kids that are going to showcases, travel baseball, so the team you're playing might be missing 4 or 5 guys, we might be missing 4 or 5 guys. So it gives kids an opportunity to kind of develop, maybe not your starters, maybe your backups, and that's what you need to be a good program. But I think they took that loss a little bit more difficult than kids I've seen at the end of some summers, and went into the offseason with the idea that we want to work a little bit harder. The off-season workout individually, and then what we started doing as a team with conditioning and lifting and being in the weight room and things like that really paid off, I think, for a lot of them so far.
Now, the story that's kind of been beat into the ground, at this point with a lot of the programs here at Metea Valley. First year with seniors. We've seen a lot of programs grow and have success. A basketball team, most notably, you got a trio of basketball guys that got a late start in baseball. Where are they at as far as getting back into baseball shape?
Yeah, Ryan. We got Ryan Solomon, Kenny Obendorf, and then Connor Archie. Connor's been playing a little bit of second base for us based on who's pitching for us that day. Ryan is our center fielder. He's going to throw some relief for us. I think the last 3 or 4 games especially, Ryan started hitting some balls really hard. I think getting back into the swing of things literally after the basketball season and soccer season, he hasn't played much baseball, and I think you're kind of starting to see that timing come back. And then Kenny, he's a natural. Talked with a lot of different people around our program, outside of our program, other coaches. Just a natural what he does. Came out first practice right after basketball was over, started hitting the ball hard everywhere. And he's a quiet leader, like everybody always says, but that kind of radiates. Nothing seems to panic him, even when he's struggling or he makes a mistake. And you could tell sometimes in the cage, right after basketball, he wasn't squaring balls up, but he just goes about his business. And he's kind of the glue for us. At shortstop, he controls a lot of what we want to do defensively. Last year, he was our Gold Glove winner. He made 1 error all year for us. Yeah, and a ton of chances. So he keeps a lot of what we want to do together. Got on the mound. We didn't want to rush him or Ryan on the mound, but he came in a situation last week, was able to close the game out for us, a 3-2 win. Looked awesome. Yeah, even after the game, the umpire made a couple comments of how much are you going to use him, and it's, still we have to realize that they're still only about 2 weeks into this. They're 2.5, 3 weeks behind other guys, and then during basketball, it was basketball for them. It wasn't baseball on the side or go out on Sundays and hit and stuff. Their focus was basketball, and it showed for the basketball team. That's something that they should do. The season they're in, you focus on the moment, and they're just such great athletes, the 2 of them, that they're able to catch up pretty quickly.
What are some of the best qualities they bring to the baseball field, as far as maybe the 2 guys that I know last year got a lot of honors for this senior class that now you have 13 guys on this team. What do they kind of bring as a group of leaders?
Well, Ryan and Kenny specifically, they're polar opposites. Even though they're best friends, they're polar opposites. Kenny's very quiet. He's kind of come out of his shell the last year or so, but he's a quiet leader. He goes about his business. He does what he has to do. He works very hard daily, and he gets the job done. Ryan's a little more loosey-goosey. He likes to keep everybody around him loose. And, outside of those guys, but when they weren't here, I think that gave some of our other seniors a great opportunity to step up and be leaders, because it's always been, with their successes in other sports, Ryan and Kenny, and they're a huge part of our program, don't get me wrong, but guys like Tom Boley, Austin Canavy, Billy Sheeran, Will DeWaren, those are some of our seniors that we have that have kind of stepped up in that absence when they weren't around and set a great example for some of our younger kids in our early practices. And then we got a couple of juniors, Matt Carlins, Andrew Fox, Mike Fitzgerald, that I think kind of took on that role a little bit more when those guys aren't around. It gave them an opportunity to step up and be leaders. And leaders are important to your program, but I could honestly say we have a lot of leaders this year. It's not one guy, two guys. It's not Kenny and Ryan are back, so now we're good to go. I think we had that kind of in place before basketball was over for them.
With moving to the pitching rubber for you guys, Tom Boley and Billy Sheeran, a couple lefties at the top of the rotation, a couple seniors. How nice is it to kind of have those lefty arms there at the top to kind of work with and maybe give some looks to some teams that they don't necessarily see every day?
Yeah, you don't see many lefties in a rotation, and right now we have those two at the top, and then we have a sophomore that's going to throw a little bit for us this year. But Tom and Billy, they're 1-2 in any combination. Tom worked his tail off this offseason, really got better. We've seen a lot of improvement. Billy's thrown 2 good games for us this year. They both thrown actually 2 excellent games for us. Billy just beat Oswego East the other day. They have the mentality, they know how to pitch. They've been with us 3 years. Dave McDonald, our pitching coach, has done a great job with them. They've taken some of those things outside of here in the offseason and worked on it. They don't have necessarily overpowering stuff for lefties, but they've learned how to pitch. They know how to mix up their pitches. They both have 3 pitches that they can throw for strikes now. That helps a lot, And you need those 1-2 guys if you're going to be successful. When you're going to go up against some of the teams in the Upstate 8 this year, you want to be able to have guys that are going to go out there and compete and be able to keep other teams off balance a little bit rather than just kind of throwing the ball by them sometimes. We don't have that as a pitching staff, but these 2 guys, I think Tom in 2 starts already has struck out 16 or 17.
Wow.
And that's just, he's been able to mix it up. Sure. He keeps hitters off balance, keeps them guessing, and when him and Billy can throw 3 pitches for a strike, it kind of keeps hitters guessing sometimes. They just can't sit fastball or breaking ball. So their leadership, and they've kind of taken some of the younger guys on their wing. When our pitchers are off doing their side sessions or some of their mechanical stuff, they're the guys that lead that group. And you kind of see it. It kind of reflects that they have that mentality that they want everybody to be good.
9 years in the conference at Waubonsie Valley as an assistant, now 3 years here at Metea. What's it like coaching a UEC baseball team, when you're playing a lot of these teams 2-3 times a week?
The conference has changed drastically, especially adding Geneva and Batavia, who are great programs. 7-8 years ago, conference I thought was very top-heavy. You had your upper echelon teams, and then you had teams down here. There's a big disparity. Sure. Now there's not. You have great teams on both sides of the conference. Our side, you have Nequa and Lake Park, I think, are a little bit better than everybody else at the time. And then Bartlett, South Elgin, Waubonsie, they got great coaches. They play the game the right way. Anybody can beat anybody, I think, on any given day. And then the other side, you got the 2 St. Charleses, Streamwood, who had a great season last year, and Steve DeVersi has brought back a lot of kids this year. Like I said, Geneva, Matt does a good job with them. They hit the ball, they pitch it, they play good defense. Batavia, Matt does a good job there. So the conference has really gotten tough. There are no gimme games where you think you're going to show up to a game and just be able to win just because you're Metea or you're whoever. You have to go and compete every single day, and I think that's been the biggest change we saw. Saying that, going up against Lake Park and Nequa and South Elgin and Bartlett and Waubonsie and East Aurora on our side 3 times in the matter of three days sometimes.
For sure.
It's a very hard thing, especially if you drop that first game sometimes, or you drop the first game of a Saturday doubleheader. Are you going to be mentally tough enough to say, hey, we got to go and get the next game or the second game of a doubleheader, whatever it is, to not put yourself in a bad position in the conference? It can be real easy. You have a 3 or 4 game bad stretch where now you go from the upper part of the conference to the lower part of the conference just because there's so much parity, so much good baseball being played.
Now, doing a little research on your program and, kind of looking through things, I saw online you had the program philosophy, and it's a very long list. It covers a lot of different things. What are a couple things you guys as a staff, from that try to bring into practice every day with the players?
I think making them better human beings. I think it's a cliche sometimes, but I think it all goes together. And I think having coaches on staff that are also teachers here really feeds into it. We want to create the best student athletes we possibly can. I think we hold them to a very high standard academically. Even if they are struggling academically, even if they're eligible by IHSA standards, if they're getting a D or F and they're still eligible, we make them go to resource during their lunchtime to work on their grades.
Okay.
Our fundraiser that we do, we volunteer our time at at Loaves and Fishes Food Pantry, where the whole program goes on a bunch of different days, and we volunteer hours of our time. Trying to teach them to give back to the community a little bit.
Okay.
I think sometimes in high school athletics, we get caught up in the wins and losses and focused on solely what your sport is, based on what you're coaching. But I think you need to prepare these guys for what's after this. College, being adults, maturing as part of the process and using athletics as a means for that. So it's something that we've talked a lot about as coaching staff, and having, like I said, Dave McDonald and now Russ Lorenz, who was a head coach at Bartlett for a couple years, with me really helps. The baseball knowledge is there, but holding them to a higher standard. And I think the kids really buy into it. I think kids want structure. And we reinforce that to them. And like I said, we have a great group of kids where we don't have any issues at all. They've bought into what we want to do, and that's awesome, because now hopefully that's going to be something down the road that this freshman group could say, hey, remember those seniors? They used to do it this way. And then stories will be passed down year after year for that foundation to be set. And I think that's the most important thing, starting this thing from scratch, was how are we going to get them to buy in to what we want to do on the field, off the field, within the community.
We're still in the infancy of the 2012 season here. What's the next step for this program? What are you expecting out of 2012?
I want to be able to compete every day. I know, again, that might be a little cliche-ish. A lot of people I talk to from different newspapers or whatever ask, well, how many games do you think you're going to win? I don't know. You don't know. Ultimately, I'd like to get to the point where we would like to hold our program to, we want to win 20 to 22 games a year. Is that going to happen this year? I'd love it to. But like I said, with the conference being the way it is and our out-of-conference schedule with some of the teams we play, that can be tough. And you could lose a lot of one-run games and play great baseball. I want to be able to improve every day, compete against some of the better teams in our conference. It's a great opportunity for these kids to showcase their skills, but continue to grow. A lot of people think, because we have a lot of seniors now, that we've kind of maybe arrived a little bit. I don't think that's the case. We still have a long way to go. I think these kids still have a lot to work for, a lot to prove to other people. If we win 15 games and play good baseball, is a successful year? Maybe. If we win 20 or 22 games, I think that would be a great year. We would like to be able to advance at least one more game in the state tournament, hopefully, or even put ourselves in play for a regional championship at some point. Those are our goals. Those are things we talk about. But it's a process. I don't want to jump and say, hey, we want to win 20, we want to win a regional. That's our ultimate goals as the season goes along. But I think each day, it's a journey. It really is. We're going to come out and practice today. We got some things we got to work on. Go play Batavia tomorrow, hopefully get a win against them. And that's our focus right now. Go out, play Batavia, play great baseball, and lose 3-2. Does that diminish what you want to do as a season? No, but you got to learn from any mistakes you make and move on, take it step by step, not looking too far ahead.
Well, Craig, we appreciate you having us over today, and good luck as we really get into the swing of things in baseball here in 2012.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.